أعوذ
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وبه نستعين وصلى الله على سيدنا Muhammad وأهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين. Welcome brothers and sisters to the exercise of lesson 2 of the Mafaheem Quran course. We've dealt with how to go with or how to handle the software in our previous lesson. So we will straight away jump into answering the questions for this software, this exercise. So let's move on to our questions here. However, I would like to point out that in this lesson, I'm going to intentionally answer a couple of questions incorrectly so that you will get a fair idea of how to deal with your questions when you accidentally or without knowing the right answer might have answered them incorrectly. So how do you find out if you've answered them incorrectly, and how do you find out what's the right answer? So in this section, which is the drop down section, I'm going to intentionally answer one of the questions incorrectly, and in another section, which is the drag and drop section, I'm going to intentionally answer the question incorrectly. Another reason that you might want to go through these videos is to check if your answers were correct or incorrect. So before you come to these videos, I would highly encourage you to go and attempt these exercises yourself first. You will find the link on the website, on the page there. Click on that link and then first attempt the exercise. And once you've successfully finished the exercise, that's when you look at the video. Or else, if you're not able to understand how to go about handling that software or how to go about handling that exercise, then you can come and have a look at the video. Else, if you're able to manage without having to look at the videos, that's even better, that's even great, because that means that you're able to memorize the words and you're able to perform really well by answering the questions yourself. So let's proceed with the questions, and we will see if there are any additional points that I need to point out to during the exercise. I will mention it to you. So let's begin with our first question. Now this first question, which is a drop down question, if we answer all the 5 correctly, it's only then that the software is going to mark this question positively. However, if we answer any one of them incorrectly, then the software is going to consider this whole question marked as incorrect. So let me demonstrate that for you. So the first word that we have here is ilah. So let's click on the drop down and see which of these 5 words fit for the word ilah. Ilah is referring to one of the characteristics of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So either it has to be all supreme or it has to be God, because none of the others match with the term ilah. So let's pick the closest one that seems to be correct, that is God. The next one that we have here is alameen. And alameen, we know, refers to worlds. Alam is one world and alameen is worlds. Azim. Now, Azim is one of the sifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the only sifat that we find in this drop down list is all supreme. So that is all supreme. So Azim is all supreme. I'm hoping you have memorized all these words earlier. The next word is, I've picked the last one here, which is kana, that is was and is. And I am going to intentionally mark this answer incorrectly, which is ma. I'm going to mark that again as was or is. While let me first mark the right answer. The right answer for that is that and which. However, I'm going to mark it incorrectly as was, is. Now, when I click on submit, it's going to say you did not select the correct response. This doesn't mean that you've answered all of them incorrectly. It only means that one of them was incorrect, and hence the software has identified this whole answer as incorrect. So let's proceed and let's go ahead and answer the rest of the questions. And at the end of it, when we review the answers, you will see what I am trying to tell you. All right, so here's the second section of the drop down list. And here we're going to answer all the questions correctly. Now we have the different questions here. The difference between the earlier question and this question is that we have the answer, we have the question here in English and the drop down is Arabic. Earlier the question was in Arabic and the drop down was in English. So let's look at this list and try and answer our questions. I have except as the first one, and that is illa. Then we have almighty is Aziz. Then we have the Lord, which is Rab. Then we have all powerful, which is Qadir. And finally the oft forgiving, which is Ghafoor. Let's click on submit and see what it has to say. It says we've answered all our questions correctly. Let's move on to the next segment, which is choose the correct answers. Let's click on next and we have choose the correct answer from one of the two. Now let's look at the question. It says Inna Allaha huwa Sami'. So inna, we know, translates to certainly. Allah is Allah. Huwa is He. And As-Sami is all hearing. So let's look at the first option. It says certainly Allah is the all hearing, and that is the correct answer. Sami' is not seeing but hearing. So this is our correct answer. Let's click on that. All right. The next question is Inna Allaha bi'ibadihi la khabir. Certainly Allah is in relation to ibad is servants and la khabir is all aware. Again, the first one is correct here. Khabir is all aware and alim is all knowing. Here the all aware is khabir, and this is our correct answer. The next one is Inna Allaha kana ghafura. Now let's look at the answer here. Inna is certainly, Allah is Allah, kana is translated as is or was, and Ghafoor is oft forgiving. Again, our first option is correct here. Lahu ma fis samawat. His is that. Ma stands for that which. Fi is in. As-samawat is the heavens. And the first one is the heaven, meaning fis sama. If we want to get the correct answer, then we have to look at the fact that this is samawat, meaning plurals, and hence the heavens is the correct answer. So let's click on that, and alhamdulillah, so far we are on track. Now, Inna Allah huwa Sami'ul Alim translates to certainly Allah, He is all hearing and all knowing. Now, if huwa, that is He, comes after the proper noun, that is Allah, it is only to emphasize the proper noun. It is not necessary to translate the proper noun. For the above ayat, the translation would be as follows. Certainly, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is all hearing and all knowing. So we don't need to translate huwa, which is He, because we already have the proper noun right before that. Now this He here is intended to emphasize on the fact that He and He alone is the all hearing and all knowing. So let's proceed further. Let's go to the next set of questions and see if we have any question with that kind of a pronoun in between, and let's see if we can answer that correctly. Now here's the drag and drop section, and I'm going to answer one of the questions incorrectly here intentionally. So let's solve these set of questions. Alhamdulillahi. Alhamdu is all praise. Lillahi is for Him. So all praise is for Allah. La ilaha illa hu. La is no, not. Ilaha is good. Ilaha is God. And illa is except. Huwa is Him. And here's the right answer right next to it. There is no God except Him. Alright, Inna Allaha Alim. Certainly Allah is all-knowing. However, we had decided to answer one of the questions incorrectly. So I'm going to answer that question incorrectly, Inna Allaha Alim. However, let's first solve the questions and look at the right answers. Huwa Sami'ul Basir. meaning he is the all-hearing and the all-seeing. So we have the answer, right answer here. Huwa Sami'ul Basir means he's all-hearing and the all-seeing. However, I'm going to exchange that with the previous one so that I intentionally answer one of them incorrectly and show you how you would find out which is the right answer. Inna Allaha bi'ibadihi, certainly Allah in relation to his servants. Now, the intention is not just drag and drop here, but pay close attention and memorize and understand how these verses are being translated. So look at this one. Inna is certainly, Allah is Allah. Bi'ibadihi is in relation to. So bi'ibadihi translates to in relation to. Ibad is collection of servant, so that's plural of servant, so servants, and he comes at the end, which refers to him or his. And to make the sentence fluent, we brought the his before the servants, and the sentence sounds far more fluent this way. Certainly Allah is in relation to his servants. We know that when I click submit, it's going to say you did not select the correct response. So let's click on continue and move on to the next one, where we have 4 drag and drops. Let's try and answer this, and we'll answer them correctly. Khabirun Basir. Khabirun Basir is, Khabir is all aware and Basir is all seeing. So we drag and drop it there. Huwa al-hayyul qayyum. Huwa is he, Hayy is living, and Qayyum is self-subsisting. So here's our answer. He is the living, the self-subsisting. Kana ghafura rahima. Kana is or was. So we have is here. Ghafur is oft forgiving, and Rahima is merciful. So we have our right answer here. And ma fis samawat, that which is in the heavens. Again, we have our right answer here. So let's click on submit, and we got all our answers right. Let's move to the next exercise, which is fill in the blanks. Now, here's our question. La ilaha illahu al-azizul hakim. There is no God except him. Al-aziz, al-hakim. All right, so al-aziz is almighty. So we type that there. See, got that correct. We move to the next one. Inna Allaha huwa sami'ul basir. Certainly Allah is. Inna Allaha, certainly Allah is. Now we have a huwa here. So do we translate that huwa? No, we do not translate that huwa, because we already have a proper noun right before that. So that huwa is there only to emphasize something. Now, as-sami al-basir. So we type the answer here. Allah is all hearing and the all seeing. So all hearing. You got that correct. Now wallahu bi kulli shay'in alim is the next one. Wa is and, Allah is Allah, is bi kulli in relation to all, shay is things, alim is all knowing. Got that one correct. And the next one, lahu ma fis samawati wa ma fil ars. His is that which is in the heavens and that which is in the earth. Wa huwal aliyyul azim, and he is the dash and the all supreme. Now Ali was the all exalted, all exalted. Got that right. And here's our answers. So we scored 83% and something went wrong. So we answered one of the questions incorrectly. Now let's go and review our quiz so that I can show you how we find where we went wrong and what the correct answer is. So let's click on review the question. So right here, straight away we see a big red strip here which says incorrect. Now unfortunately the software does not give me the control onto the right answers that are given here, which I can change the color of the text. I tried my best, but it's still showing in the gray color. So you'll have to struggle a little and probably brighten your screen a little so that you can see the right answer here. So we have ilah, we answered God, the right answer is God. Alameen, we answered worlds, the right answer is worlds. Azim, we answered all supreme, the right answer is all supreme. Ma, we answered was, is, however, the right answer was that which. And kana, we answered was, is, and the right answer was, is, was, is. So we know that for ma, instead of answering that which, I answered was, is, and hence got that wrong. Let's move to the next one. And straight away we see we have a green band here which says correct. Therefore, all our answers that we answered were correct. So let's move on to the next one. Again, the correct answer is here. Again, we have the correct and correct and correct and correct. Now, this one, it says incorrect. That means we did something wrong here. So let's look at and find out how did we go wrong. Now, I answered 1 with 1, so that was right. I answered 2. Can you see the number here, 2 in black, and the number in red here is 2. So I answered the 2 with the 2, so that was right. However, for the third one, I answered with the fourth option, which should have gone down. So the answer for the third one is this one, which has a red 3 in it. So now I know where I went wrong. So the answer should have been Inna Allah Alim, meaning certainly Allah is all-knowing. Instead of that, I answered He is the all-hearing and the all-seeing. However, that was the answer for the fourth one, which is Huwa Sami'ul Basir. So the black 4 and the red 4 is the right answer, and the black 3 and the red 3 is the right answer. So this shows us how to look for the right answer and know that where we went wrong and what we did wrong. Let's move to the next one. We got a correct here, so nothing much to check. Again, we got the correct here. Now I would like to show you something here. In some of the translations that you see in the Holy Quran, they translate the alif lam that you see before the Aziz and the Hakim as the. So you would see Holy Quran which says Bismillahir Rahman Ar-Rahim. Bismillahi Ar-Rahman Ar-Rahim is translated as in the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful. However, some of the scholars have translated that as all beneficent and all merciful. So you might have read the Quran in English earlier, and that might have been there in your head that, you know, every time I see alif lam, it has to be a the. Therefore, when you answer, you might accidentally or unknowingly or knowingly might have answered it as the Almighty. So even if you answer that, we have mentioned it to our software that if someone answers it as the Almighty, it is still right. Or if someone has answered it as Almighty, it is still right. Again, to point out that we intentionally told the software to be case insensitive. That means if you type some part of the answer in capitals and some part in the lowercase, it doesn't matter. It will take it as a text and word, and it will not evaluate the capitals and the lowercase. It will just look at it as text and evaluate the text. So if you've answered it as the Almighty, it is still correct, or if you've answered it as Almighty, it is still correct. Some of the answers later on you would see would have 3 or 4 options, because based on the British use or the American use or the spellings that are used, so on and so forth. So we had to tell the software to consider all those options so that it evaluates your answer correctly and gives you the right scoring. Again, the similar situation here, the all hearing or all hearing, both the answers are correct. Here there is no alif lam, so it has to be all knowing and not the all knowing, because there is no alif lam and therefore no option of adding a the there. Al-Ali is all exalted or the all exalted. And that brings us to the end of the exercise. Thank you all for staying along and being part of the Mafaheem Quran family. Welcome to the family again, and I hope you enjoyed the lesson. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ajil farajahum.
Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.